Sean Endings here. Welcome to another edition of the MicroCapClub Member Spotlight. In these interviews, we'll showcase many of the talented members on MicroCapClub. And today, we have Olivier Colombo, a private investor. Olivier, thanks for joining.
Hello, Sean. Thank you very much for having me on today.
So one thing I noticed while we were talking before we got on, I want you to show your shirt. I love your shirt.
I want to see my shirt. Here we go. And then this one in particular. So
I love that.
It's not given to all of the microcap investor. Either you have to be on the platform for 10 years, I guess, or you must have had a 10 bagger. So guess which one I had.
Both of them?
Yeah, maybe. Close to it.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Great to see you wearing the shirt. I mean, I should be wearing mine, but I guess after the gym today, I just decided to wear this one. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into investing and how you got into microcaps, and maybe, just talk about, where you live.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm in Switzerland. I'm 57 years old, married, two wonderful daughters, 22, 24. I spent the first 2 years of my life in Switzerland before moving 4 years in Australia. And my father was a civil engineer working for an aluminium company. Then we went 4 years to Namibia, north of South Africa. And then when I was 10, came back to Switzerland, did my studies there. Went to university to study economics, but then after 1 year, I kind of dropped off. I said, look, I'm not making any money. I want to go to the real world. So my father introduced me to one of his good friends, which was working as head of HR HR, in a private bank in Switzerland. And I called him up, went there, I introduced myself, said, well, Olivier, if you want to go to the mine and roll up your sleeves, I'm willing to take you on. So that's where I joined, and then spent a year in the consumer credit division of the bank. It's kind of small credits for people that are looking to either buy a new furniture, pay for their for a car or anything like that, going on vacation. But every day, it was on the second floor, and every day I was going on the first floor, and the first floor was the trading department. So I said, one day I have to go and work this in there, So a year later, I had the opportunity. There was an offer there to go and work as a bond trader. So I joined the bond desk. I was trading Dutch bonds, German bonds, and then I moved to equities. It was Spain and Portuguese equities. And then one day, the guy that was doing the US went on holiday. So I put up my arm and said to my boss, hey, by the way, if you want, I could do the trading there for US. So that was in 91, actually. And since then, my passion was for the US market. I decided to make it the only place I will invest. And over the years, I've invested only in Canada. So strange story, and the reason why I did U.S. equities was I think it was 91. I read an article by the former Lehman Brothers biotech analyst, which was covering Amgen, and it was in June, and the stock was trading around $60. And she said, I believe the stock goes to 180 by the end of the year. I said, that lady must be crazy. And actually, by the end of the year, it went to 210. Ooh. So I said to myself, well, I think there's some money to be made in the US, and that is the reason why I have focused all my time, energy, and focus just on the US stock market.
Oh, so please tell me that you bought Amgen then and you still hold it.
Yeah, for sure. I invest only in microcaps. And when I started at that regional bank, as I mentioned, I was trading those bonds, and that took up the U.S. Stock market activity. So I was the middleman between the portfolio manager and the brokers. So I was getting orders from the PMs that I was giving to brokers who were working with the oldest broker, actually, called Alex Brown. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it was the first investment bank founded in 1800 in Baltimore. And we were extremely active with them because one of those PM had a good contact with the people at Starbucks. And at that time, Starbucks was doing private placements before the IPO in '92. So we were extremely active when it went on the stock market. And for a number of years, we traded actively Starbucks stock. They bought a lot of coal, they bought a lot of warrants, they bought a lot of convertibles. So then I was also able to do some prop trading. So the bank gave me a book where I could invest in stocks. So I was doing kind of day trading that I did for roughly 6 years before having the opportunity to join Credit Suisse in Geneva as a prop trader as well, and focusing exclusively on day trading US stocks. So there was 2 of us there trading. It went fantastically well. I think it was the best time in my professional career. But unfortunately, it didn't last too long, because 3 months after I joined, they decided to close the department.
Oh.
Not because we were losing money, but actually because they did not want to have too many risks sites around the world. They said, why would a Swiss guy out of Geneva trade US stocks when we could do that directly from New York?
Mm-hmm.
So then I had the opportunity actually to join Alex Brown as US equity sales, covering institutional accounts in Geneva and Zurich. It's mostly banks and insurance companies. Then, of course, Alex Brown was taken out in '97 by Bankers Trust. And then a couple of months later, Bankers Trust was acquired by Deutsche Bank. So spent 10 years at Deutsche Bank as US equity sales, then moved to Zurich. And in 2009, I had an offer to do exactly the same job for JP Morgan, which I really jumped on the opportunity. Spent 3 years there. And then in 2013, round restructuring 5 or 6. I was the oldest guy there. They said, unfortunately, Olivier, we can't use you anymore. So at the age of 47, I said, well, do I want to do that the rest of my life? And I said, no, well, let's try and be independent. So since 2013, I'm alone, and I invest only in US stocks. So I'm a full-time microcap investor, and I've done some private placements in consumer companies, 2 of them out of Canada. The first one is Midday Squares, which is a functional chocolate company growing extremely fast. And the other one is called NAC, and they focus on sports nutrition for trail runners.
Okay, so you saw, okay, there's opportunity in the US, but
Yep.
what was the segue into microcaps?
Well, actually, pretty an interesting story. A good friend of mine was studying chiropractor in Portland, Oregon. And I went over, and I bumped into a magazine called the Red Chip Review magazine that probably you have heard about, by Mark Robbins. And at that time, he was publishing a paper magazine, which I loved, and I was a subscriber from a number of years. And there were so many nice little companies mentioned there. A company called New World Coffee, which was supposed to disrupt Starbucks. Of course, it went bankrupt because you can't compete against Starbucks, and things like that, So that was the early start for me in microcap.
Gotcha. And seeing how you're based in Switzerland and you are mainly focused in investing in US companies, do you find yourself having any kind of difficulty, being geographically not in the same location as the market that you're in? Because I mean, there's a lot of investors who are probably watching this, and they might be, say, US based, and they're looking to Europe or somewhere else. So just if you could talk about that, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting questions, actually. I mean, the handicap of being here is, you can't attend microcap events all over all year round. You can't meet people from the MicroCapClub on a regular basis. So for me, I try to go 2 to 3 times to the US and to go to events. So that's, but of course, it's an handicap. Even though I would say on the other side, as a lot of companies report their numbers late your day, I have the time to listen to the presentation, do my kind of homework before the next trading day comes. So I think on that front, I could have an advantage.
You invest a lot in the US, but could you tell us a little bit more about your investing strategy, specifically?
That's an excellent question, actually, because I don't really have a strategy. I would say that I focus mostly on the consumer side, because that's a segment that I know pretty well, and just for the little story here, I had the opportunity to meet the founder, Jim Gennard of Oakley, in August 1995, actually, in Zurich, when they were doing their roadshow. And I came from Geneva, spent the whole day traveling, spent 2 days at the IPO roadshow, had a discussion with him. It was very nice. He gave me a good allocation on the IPO, and I've always made money trading Oakley over the years, because years ago, I don't know if you remember that, but Sunglass Hat was listed in the US, and these companies the retailers were reporting monthly sales on a regular basis, whatever the first Monday of the month. So you just had to buy the stock a day before, and on the day, as Oakley was doing extremely well, it was up 5 to 10% the next day. You made your money and you sold, So it was pretty cool little story. So Oakley is the reason why I focused a lot on the outdoor segment and on the food and beverage space.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Olivier, do you have any things, any like investing themes or ideas that you've been mulling over lately?
I mean, as you know, I invest a lot in the food and beverage space. I think that in the COVID time, there was a few IPOs that came to the market. Some of them got crashed as actually they were not ready to come to the market. It was way too early for them, and some companies here are having a resurgence of their business, growing and being profitable. But the other segment that I'm also looking at is, over the last few years, there's been a lot of SPACs coming to the market. SPACs are very special animals with strange capital structures, debt converts, you name it, warrants, and so on. So I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting in that space, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and there's unfortunately a lot of rubbish out there. And so, yeah.
You've been a member for MicroCapClub for a while, probably
10 years now.
Yeah, 10 years now. What has your experience been? Have you gained any, great relationships? Just if you could just talk about the MicroCapClub, I mean, that would be great to hear.
No, I really appreciate the platform. It's getting better and better, but I still think that MicroCap 2.0 has to come one day. I think it's not there for the moment. I unfortunately do not read all the initiations or comments or whatever. As I said, I focus just on the US, so I look at US companies. But I have to say I have made a handful of excellent friends on the platform, thanks to MicroCap summits and events like that. And these are, I would say, as I said, a handful of people, 4 or 5 guys that I talk to on a regular basis, where we exchange ideas. The good thing is these people are based in the US, so they could go and see companies, they could see events, and then give me feedback and things like that. So I might make sometimes the heavy lifting, suggesting ideas, and they dig into it over there in the US.
Yeah, and I would have to agree. I mean, it's just the opportunities to connect with people are great. And I mean, I've probably been a member for about 10 years, and yeah, I've been very fortunate with the people that we're able to meet, and I am very much looking forward to seeing you in a little over a month, right?
Correct.
A month and a half or so at Coeur d'Alene. But yeah, that's going to be a fun one, and we have a bunch of other things that we're trying to cook up in the background for the future that we're excited about. Yeah. But Olivier, I think you did a wonderful job sharing your background, who you are, and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat today on the MicroCapClub Member Spotlight. And like I said, I really look forward to seeing you in a little bit in person.
Same on my side. Excited, counting the days.